All right, what's up, Foggy Bottom? Doing all right? I got some Metro riders in here. I can hear. Excellent. There we go. That's what we like to hear. This is actually my neighborhood and actually home station as well. So I live in the neighborhood. I love this part of the city, so I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you today. So a topic I'm going to talk about is kind of just the sense of leadership and public speaking, right? So in this room, how many people enjoy public speaking? Okay, we got some people. Great. And are there people in this room that would consider themselves kind of like an introvert? Okay. Okay, so what's interesting you might find about that, you're like, what a weird way for the Metro guy to start off, right? So this is what I do basically every day. So every day, listen, I'm not on Meet the Press, but a lot of local stuff, right? We do a lot of TV, a lot of live radio. I have 13,000 teammates, so employees, and thousands of contractors, so I do town halls every day. We do big forums, whether it's about public safety or funding, and you name it, right? So basically, my life is kind of like this. And I could tell there's a few people that when I came out, that means you probably follow me on Twitter or different things of that nature, right? So what would you think if I told you that I'm kind of actually a little bit like an introvert? And some people might like, yeah. But I've taught myself how to be a professional extrovert. And what I mean by that is it's not fake, it's not a play, it's not acting, it's figuring out how to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And interestingly enough, the green room conversation made me feel so less anxious coming out here. So I'm in the back with incredible speakers that you heard from all day, right? And I mentioned my topic, and they're all like, oh my God, I'm anxious of this thing too. And you know, we're talking about people that are on TV, lecturers, people that do a lot of these things. And totally, the last week, I've been intimidated like crazy coming in front of mostly GW students to talk about non-Metro, basically about me. And that really was a theme that we all kind of discussed back there, right? Getting uncomfortable about talking about yourself or different types of topics. So while I may seem very extroverted, and I am because I love the mission we do, and I get very passionate, so I click and I'm right into it. Other ways, I'm completely introverted. And so I'm going to talk about 3 quick stories that kind of help me as a leader become a better, and again, not being a better extrovert, because there's certainly introvert and extrovert, not one is better than the other. We're all complex and different, but being a better communicator and leader. And those 3 stories are basically the following quickly. One, when I was in Boston, I worked at the MBTA, and we had the Boston Marathon bombing. And you know, it's hard to remember that event today, because in our world today, sadly, that might not even resonate more than a 40, 72-hour news cycle. But at that time, it dominated our country, and it scared our country, right? The biggest running sporting event in the world had an explosion, and multiple people died. And it terrorized the community, first responders, and quite frankly, we locked down the entire city. And it's kind of permeated throughout the country. And President Obama came to town. And we all know he's an amazing orator, right? He came to town, and I had the privilege of being in the church when he addressed the community. And it sticks with me today, how he led the country and that community and the families through that crisis. And he did it with empathy and humanity and just a touch of grace that, quite frankly, we could all use in really dangerous and scary and sad times. And he did that. Obviously, he was not comfortable, right? You're not comfortable walking in and talking to victims' families that just got blown up or first responders that had to respond. But he did it because he knew that was the job. And he knew the mission was bigger than him. And I'll never forget. Then, of course, he went to the church with the shooting and did the same thing. And I'm not calling out President Obama versus other presidents, so yeah, I know we're in DC, I'm not being political. That is an experience that sticks with me forever, because I got to watch that in close proximity, and it stuck with me forever about willingness to get out of your zone to be bigger for the people that need it in the moment. Another thing that unique to me in this case was I got the opportunity to run the transit system in Austin. And maybe naively, I get there and it's like, hey, we need a vision to build this big transit system, fastest growing city in the country, 2 failed transit elections. Hey, you're going to put this package together and we're going to win one. And I'm like, yeah, of course we are. Like, it's not even a debate. Of course we're going to put something together and win. And I live that way very optimistically. What I was a little naive on is I didn't realize how much I would more or less become the face of this election. I'm not a politician, don't desire to be a politician. I kind of joke, my wife's in the room, so she'll guarantee I'll never be a politician. And again, I love politicians, just to be clear. I interact with them every day, just not my personal thing, right? But when you do a transit election, unlike here, you're literally putting an issue in front of the voters and they're going to make a decision with their own money to fund that outcome. And we worked across the community, built this amazing coalition, and we won. But I was very uncomfortable through a lot of that time because so much of it became on my shoulders to be the face. And, I'm not from that city. I can't, I grew up in Nova Scotia, Canada, right? I'm in Austin, Texas, putting together a transit package, and now I run this transit system in the National Capital of DC. So trust me, the world is not linear. You never know where you're going to end up. And I think that's actually the fun about the world. But back to the story, people literally took me aside and said, hey, we failed on this before. You need to lead. Every time you feel uncomfortable, we need you to step in even more. You have to bring people together. It's just the diffusion of power, the way Texas, you have to get more involved. So, okay, I will. But it's uncomfortable. And it taught me so much about myself, about the people I work with, and the actual topic itself, because, again, we won. But I grew so much and I made so many mistakes, both individually, organizationally, but also made so many good decisions. And I realized how valuable that was for the people that live there, my team, and the community forever, right? And not to get on the transit thing just quickly, but the thing transit does that is so beautiful, we're the microcosm of society. We bring people together. We create access to opportunity. We bring economic opportunity, access to healthcare, education. We interface with special events, security issues. It's amazing. And the more people that experience that in other parts of the world or in the country really understand that. And it taught me so much about my own craft and studying that. But I just use that as an example, which is, this kid from Canada ends up in Texas, face of this thing, and I had to get out of my own skin, if you will, to do that. The third one was a horrible tragedy. When I became the WMATA general manager almost 3 years ago, there was a lot of violence in this region. Many people that live here remember. It was a pretty rough period. We had about a year. There was a lot of shootings, carjackings, things of that nature. It was all over America. But in our world, we live in the bubble. So everything that happens here gets the 10 times effect, right? But it was legit. We had a lot of security issues. And Metro had a bunch too. And that's the thing we worked on since day one. But we had a couple shootings and homicides in the Metro system when I first got here. But the most tragic one was one of our employees. And I've been around, just like everyone in this room, someone that has died, a loved one, a friend, right? And as horrible as those are, but I've never experienced the feeling of losing a teammate, especially that way, right? It's one thing if someone has a heart attack or a medical condition, as tragic as that is, there's some things in life that just can't be controlled. For someone doing their job, and they went to do their job, and they actually were a hero in this case, Mr. Cunningham, tried to protect others and got murdered on the job, it was unbelievably just stressful for obviously his family and friends, but for the organization. And I will tell you, there is zero playbook, there's no manual, there's no phone a friend. None of these things exist in a real crisis. Not a crisis on Twitter that we think is a real crisis, it's really BS. I'm talking a real crisis, something that puts your whole life in perspective and nothing else matters. A hurricane, what President Obama did at the Marathon bombing, an employee getting murdered, right? Those things just transcend everything else. That phone call happened, went to the site, interacted with our police department, did a press conference with Mayor Bowser, who just her support personally and professionally to the organization, to me personally, was amazing that day. Never obviously had to do that. Held back my tears doing a public press conference outside of a station. Went to the home, did a next of kin notification with my police chief. And there is nothing in this world that would be harder on you if you are running an organization or you have a responsibility to interact with someone that died, to have to tell that family member. There's no way to do that in any way that is ever going to be a good way to do it. And it was the first time it happened to me to do that. And the family is amazing. We still interact with the family. We're always going to be there for their family. And then I came back, had to talk to all our employees, and I lost it in front of all of our employees. And I don't mean lost it angry, I mean lost it emotionally. And I cried in front of a bunch of our employees. And I say that because whoever you are in this room, you don't have to be a CEO. You are going to be falling into a leadership role somehow. In your own family, you might be a CEO, you might be something happens at school, it might be something else in your life. We all have opportunities to be leaders. And I will tell you, that was the hardest leadership moment I've ever had, but I learned so much. And again, I take that and spin the whole thing back. I think I was supposed to advance a slide, which is this. Leaders have to get uncomfortable, right? Because it's always about the mission. And that's what President Obama taught me. It's what I learned in Austin. And then when I had an employee get murdered, right? And those lessons stick with me almost every single day. And maybe they're not tangible every day, but they are the building blocks of becoming a great leader. Learning, failing, growing, pushing yourself when it is uncomfortable. Life is generally uncomfortable if you want to do good things, if you want to push things, if you want to make a difference, you have to be willing to get in the uncomfortable. The comfortable, and quite frankly for me, and I'm a little different, the comfortable I find boring. Maybe it's good at home and I'm the introvert, but if you really are passionate about a mission, you got to get uncomfortable. But I want to use my moment to kind of talk to you all about that, about life is short. Be passionate about what you want to do, right? The things that really matter to you, and really think through who are great leaders and who are not good leaders. And they both could teach you things. Seeing people be poor leaders has taught me almost as much in life as seeing great leaders. And great leaders are amazing. And there's these attributes and they're usually the same deal. Care about the people that you're with, be honest, be transparent, and care about the thing you're doing. And if you do those things, my advice to everyone, and I guess my life lesson is, it's okay to go from the uncomfortable, and eventually you can go do a TEDx talk and be fairly comfortable. And so with that, I just want to say thank you all, and really lean into who you are as a person. And for the introverts that were out there with me earlier, get uncomfortable. You're going to never regret it. So thank you all very much.